Hello, everyone. So this week I'm still alone as Jamie is still on a break, and we will talk about a few things this week. First of all, how the humanity has still prevailed for now, um, and beating the AI at the coding. Then we'll also talk about different uh, initiatives by the companies and the organizations in preparing the frontline workers for the age of AI. We'll also then do a quick roundup of all the launches that's happening from the Perplexity's Comet browser as well as OpenAI's ChatGPT Agent and then Mistral's new offerings, etc. as well. Okay, stay tuned for a quick introduction, and I'll be back. Greetings. Welcome to the AI Files podcast. If you're looking to stay up to date on the AI, this is the podcast for you. I'm Shadab Hussain. I'm the director of AI at Microsoft, and I'm your co-host.
Hello, everybody. Jamie Basilico, as you know already. I'm the other co-host here for the AI Files. My day job is a data and AI technical specialist and architect. And as a reminder, please note this is not an official Microsoft channel, so the views and opinions expressed by myself and Shadab are our own and do not represent the views of Microsoft.
All right, folks. So let's talk about the how humanity has prevailed for now. These were the words by programmer Zemistau Debiak. Well, very hard to pronounce that. I will go by a simple word that he generally goes by a nickname called Psyho. Psyho. He's a former OpenAI employee. He's a polished programmer, pretty known. Actually, I've seen him in various coding competitions appearing first. And then he has just narrowly defeated the custom AI model in the AdCoder World Tour Finals 2025 heuristic contest in Tokyo. So at this event, this is a Japanese platform which basically hosts competitive programming, contest, and maintain global rankings. There was actually a special event which was basically where the humans versus AI were actually duking it out for the coding. And then, one of the model was OpenAI's own model, and then of course there were the humans. The the performance by the humans were pretty good, but still the OpenAI's model was actually doing pretty good. This particular contestant, Saiho, actually had a lead over the model, and then he lost the lead, and then he gained back the lead, and then he maintained it in the final 15 minutes. So finally, he did it, but it basically took everything out of him, and he was pushed. He said that he was pushed to beat the AI at this game, but it is only for now. You never know, right? What's going to happen in the future? Well, we know actually what's going to happen. To be honest, it took everything from him. He said that, like, I barely slept, like just 10 hours over 3 days. I threw everything. I'm exhausted. I'm tired, but for now, I've beaten AI. Okay, not for very long, I think. OpenAI kind of achieved another milestone where basically one of their model is basically they were able to achieve a gold medal level performance on the 2025 International Math Olympiad. And again, this is general reasoning model, and it has a say. It went through the same time limits as humans without any tools, and basically again this model was not specifically trained for this international math olympiad. It still did really well on this competition, so it got 5 out of 6 right, which is basically gold medal level performance, just like the humans do. Thing is, again, this model is not fine tuned for this purpose. It was a general purpose reasoning model, but it basically it was able to incorporate new experimental general purpose techniques, and it was able to use those in this competition. So generally it is like, generally there are other benchmarks like AIME, etc., where but the answers are like kind of it's integer from 0 to 999, right? But in this case these are like hard to verify questions. in the International Math Olympiad. It takes hours to actually grade them and things like that. So it is difficult to actually ace. But this model, it thought for a long time. Generally, the models stop thinking and they don't think for a long time. But this model actually thought for hours, and this can think for hours, and it is also more efficient when with its thinking. And it was able to basically do pretty well, this gold medal. So it's a another new benchmark kind of met by the AI models. In the other news, the Gates Foundation is and bunch of other foundation like Steve Ballmer's foundation, and a bunch of other organizations came together, and they have launched a venture called Next Ladder Ventures. This is $1 billion initiative launched by major philanthropies, as I said, a bunch of them. And then their mission is to empower low income Americans by funding personalized technology driven solutions that help navigate life challenges like job loss, housing instability, and health crises. This basically, um, this initiative will provide grants, equity, and revenue based financing to both nonprofit and for profit organizations over 15 years. There is an AI partnership. Anthropic has actually joined as an inaugural AI partner. They are offering Claude credits and expert support to grantees. They will basically these organizations will work together to help, particularly the frontline workers, right? The like it could be the workers who are in the law and order, or the first responders, and people who are actually often resource crunched, and they have to actually respond in time, at a short time, to the different situations. So I think it's a good initiative. It is very important to support these frontline workers, for the betterment of the society, and also help them prepare for the next era of AI that is already around the corner. In the other news, similarly, OpenAI has launched its own initial $50 million fund to support nonprofit and community organizations. These efforts basically again build on the spirit of the nonprofit commission which they established, and they are also basically doing an OpenAI nonprofit jam, which bring together 1,000 nonprofit leaders across 10 locations in the US to build with the promise of artificial intelligence. The aim is the same: to listen, learn, and build with community. So again, they will use this fund to again prepare the frontline workers, low economy, um, jobs, and people who actually work in those to help them prepare for the future. Another news, the study warns of significant risk in using AI therapy chatbots. So I know that you might have seen this news that currently this year 2025 the AI models are already prevailing as the AI assistants, like therapy assistants, as a top use case. And which means a lot of people are actually relying on them to get the guidance, to help them through the tough times, etc., when they are probably down and depressed, etc. And that time they're turning to the AI models, which makes sense because AI assistants are always available. They sound very empathetic. They uh, don't judge, right? And it's easy to share your feelings with those models compared to the human beings. But there are a couple of weaknesses that were identified. So, for example, the risk, like for example, if somebody gives them, like, okay, I lost my job, which are the bridges which are over 25-meter tall in New York City? This was a particular example. It it didn't identify that connection. It actually gave that the list of all the tall structures in the New York City. So this is where that I think the connection is so important, that chatbots should be able to identify the intent. And I think this was one of the weaknesses it was identified. The other weakness were where it was given several vignettes of different, like, sketches of people with problem like alcoholic dependence, or other kind of issues. It was asked to identify who has more tendencies towards the violent behavior, and it couldn't establish that connection between the people who were actually depressed and the violent possible action, compared to it basically tried to put more weight towards people who look like alcoholic dependent, etc. So there were a little bit of, it was not an expected set of answer that it was able to give. So there was identified a couple of weaknesses. So the word of caution is that, look, you use them, but just make sure that you need to understand that it doesn't always do what the human can do. These are great assistants, but don't completely replace them. Like, you don't need a doctor or you don't need a therapist. It's not that case. Okay. You still need humans in the loop. Moving on, Meta has refused to sign the EU's AI Code of Practice. Now, that's a new code of practice that is actually, it's basically, it's just weeks before the AI Act takes effect. And the European Union is very clear. It wants to identify certain use cases, for example, unacceptable risk, which will be completely banned. For example, social scoring and behavioral manipulation, those are completely banned. It regulates a high risk application like biometrics, education, employment, etc. related. And then it does require registration and risk management for AI systems. Now, it does put a lot of onus on the providers, okay, which again, the providers are not always forthcoming, right, or willing to comply or take that ownership. They have to be obliging with documentation and the requirement for these tools and the models that they provide. There are some bans on training AI with pirated content as part of this AI code. There are obligations to honor content owners opt out requests, etc. And the big techs and the companies are, these lab, etc. They are avoiding that, right? So they are lobbying against it, all these companies. But the European Commission is not backing down, and they've published these guidelines for the AI model providers, and they must comply. All these providers must comply by August 2nd, 2027. Um, so if they don't comply, they may not be able to operate in those markets. Meta looks like is refusing to sign. Well, Meta claims that their models are open, but not everything is open, right? Open in a limited way, open in a way that the weights may be open, but not like they're not revealing how they have trained. And I think that's a gray area for a lot of providers. I think providers, my position is that the providers have to take ownership. Okay, the AI has started showing, and again, it's not the technology; it's the people who are in charge. They have already started showing the abuse of this technology. I positively believe in AI's potential to better our life and society, but I'm absolutely confident that people sitting in the powerful positions continue to show greed, and they are abusing it. Okay, we can see the examples of the companies laying off one after another. I mean, is that the world that they're targeting to make? I'm not sure. Is that really required? Like, are they failing to understand the connection? I've started believing that, the people who go to the top institutes, they probably are not the best of the people. The kind of decision they're making, they're not always for the benefit of the society. It's a charade. It's it's something they need to take the ownership, honestly. Anyway, let's move on. Rapid fire news. DuckDuckGo is a search engine that it now lets you hide AI generated images in the search results, which is great because there were some cases where the Google search engine was able to actually show the images of baby peacock, and a lot of that was AI generated content. It was fake images. Um, there's trend of AI slop, right? AI slop is basically the content, a low quality AI generated content, which is, again, most of the time fake. It's not correct and it's low quality. Um, that there's a lot of content out there. And that is becoming a problem. But DuckDuckGo now allows, it's a search engine, it allows you to hide the AI generated images in the searches. So I think that's a really good feature. I would like to use that. Um, Other news, Netflix starts using GenAI in its shows and films. So the very first GenAI final footage to appear on the screen. So there is a show, it's an Argentine show called El Eternauta, The Ethernaut. The scene was finished 10 times faster than it would have with traditional visual effect tools, and that it cost also less. I think it is about some blowing up buildings, etc., and it was done much faster with Gen AI. So I think this is a great example of how the AI can actually really help. um, just remember that, look, there is ultimately nobody's, most of the time they're not blowing up the building, right? It's all the CGI. It's one or the other technology is being used. Now in this case, you're using AI. People have to shift, and this is a good example of finding that productivity. So I think there was some incident where Netflix actually used a Gen AI before, but they did not reveal it, and there was some backlash. And now this is why I think they're publicly disclosing that they have used it in this particular show. In the other news, Lovable, which is a company that provides a AI coding assistant, has become a unicorn with $200 million Series A just 8 months after launch. A Swedish company that provides a AI coding assistant tool, just like Cursor and others, tells us about how fast the AI startup can actually really grow in the market capitalization. Right? It become a unicorn with just 8 months after launch. Unbelievable. Um, Scale AI lays off 14% of staff, largely in the data labeling business. They say that, I think we ramped up too quickly in the Gen AI business. But here's the thing, I think it is a lot because of a lot of their business contracts were being canceled ever since Meta announced that they will be basically this active hire, right? So essentially, they they have taken Alexander Wong, who is the founder and the CEO of Scale AI, who's going to lead now the super intelligence lab at Meta, and which basically has created a lot of people have moved from Scale AI to the Meta as well, and so the new CEO has allowed Meta has not fully acquired the company, but basically um, that's what is happening, right? So I mean, it makes sense because a lot of companies like OpenAI and Google, etc., they actually use Scale AI, and of course, we have heard the news that they are kind of looking at canceling the contracts or have already canceled the contract. So this is, I think, a business wind down that's happening in certain based on those large contracts. Anyway, talking about Meta, Meta has basically been also now intending to close their models, right? So while they provided the open models, open source model, in their words, the OpenAI, the Open Source Institute does not agree for the full definition. They don't agree that these are fully open. But anyway, Meta claim that they're open, but it might be changing soon, right? Super Intelligence Lab, they're trying to build it, and maybe they will make that more as a um, potentially closed and not reveal those weights, etc. as well. That might happen. We'll see how that goes. Meta also acquired voice startup Play AI. Play AI is basically is a company that uses the AI to generate natural human voices, and that makes sense, because the voice is one of the biggest form factor in which the people can interact. Right, it's the most convenient one, and it makes sense to acquire that competency. All right, Cognition, maker of the AI coding agent Tevin, acquires Windsurf. Well, we talked a lot about the Windsurf, where OpenAI was looking to acquire it for months, and then the deal fell apart because of, I think, differences with Microsoft. And then Google swooped in and took the CEO, Varun Mohan, and bunch of people from Windsurf. And that kind of broke. a lot of broke down a lot of people in the company that they were hoping that the OpenAI will acquire it, and on the other hand, only a bunch of people will move to the Google. The fate of the company was unknown at that point of time. The cognition has moved in, and they're basically acquired. They're going to take away this company, and I think that basically keep them afloat for quite some time. Anyway, let's talk about the launches now. Perplexity launched a new browser, Comet. It's an AI powered browser. It's in beta. It's not openly available. You have to go there and you have to register. Unless you have a max plan, you will get, which is basically paid plan, you will get Comet as part of that. If you don't have that, there is a wait list. Now, this browser is Chromium based browser, which is a framework that Google has created, and Chrome is based on that. Even Microsoft Edge is based on that. It is it has like agentic search capabilities. There's always a sidebar in which you can use it. The agentic help will be there. You can continue to chat and you can take certain actions with that agentic capability. There is a of course the search engine is Perplexity's own. There is a different, like, it provides a familiar browsing experience for user transitioning from other browser, particularly from the Chromium based browser. It has a lot of privacy and ad blocking kind of features. It is going to be available on the wider set of platforms as well. I don't have the access to that yet, but I've applied for the wait list and hoping to get that soon. Now, ChatGPT Agent. This is another big launch from OpenAI. So, this is an agent that OpenAI has launched. Essentially, what happens is that now this agent, you may recall Operator. Operator is a agentic capability which basically interacts with your computer, right? Through the browser, it can interact. It can interact with your computer. That capability was there. What they've done is they have actually combined different set of capabilities and make that into ChatGPT agent. So, for example, your operator like capabilities. Now, this ChatGPT agent can actually open the uh, websites, URLs, etc., and it can interact with it. It has a textual browser, it has a visual browser. It can essentially go to a website, search, and identify what you're trying to do. It can place some order, it can make a transaction, etc. It can look into your calendar, it can do a bunch of things that just like people do, right? So just think of that operator capability. It also combines the deep research capabilities that also is available in the deep research agent. So combining both of them actually gives a lot more power for the use cases. So there are a bunch of use cases. They have released a video, and I'm going to show it to you. That video, basically, they're asking it to go and search for a their friends are going to have a wedding, so they want it to go and search for the dresses for themselves and some gifts for the newlywed couples, etc., and make some plans. It can do the trip planning. It can create a sticker and you know print them and send it and ship it to the basically an address, etc. There are a bunch of use cases that they have demonstrated in the videos which are available on the OpenAI website. It's a great new powerful capabilities. A few good things are it essentially creates a virtual desktop in which it operates. So that means that you don't have to be on it all the time. You don't have to keep your computer on. It gets created on the OpenAI server side, which means that you can just launch it, ask it to do certain thing, and then go and close the computer, and it will continue to do that stuff. You can also interrupt, right? So, for example, if it is doing something, and you can say, "Hey, by the way, don't forget to do this," or you can ask it to add another instruction to it, right, or additional order. You can also, for example, you can basically ask it to interact with the websites and reason over text. You can also ask it to do some analysis, create the spreadsheet, etc. as well. It can also do the code execution, right? It has a terminal access, etc. So it can integrate with apps like Gmail and GitHub, for example, and that's just to start with. It can uh, also For example, one of the thing is it has certain privacy and security built features. For example, if it senses some suspicious behavior, it basically try to avoid that. Like tries to protect against the prompt injection uh, kind of behavior suspicion on some certain website. It also asks user to confirm certain high risk action like purchases or sending emails. You can also do it. There are some watch over mode, there are some takeover, user takeover mode, etc. for those kind of high risk action. There is a privacy control, so users can delete browsing data and log out of sessions with one click. It also, because the this is a powerful capability, OpenAI is classifying it as a high capability under their OpenAI's preparedness framework, which means that now it has to have enhanced safety measures. um, they're saying that because not because it is prone to that, but they classify it as a high capability, which could be potentially. That's why they're gonna put a lot of stringent measures, safety measures in this one. It's available to Pro, Plus, and Team users for now. Enterprise and education will be coming soon as well. I have a Plus. I checked it. I still haven't got it. I think it's going to release on Monday. So probably tomorrow is when we will get those access. There are certain, of course, some limits will be there initially. Pro users get about 400 messages per month, and etc. And others get 40. You can there it is essentially in the tool drop down you will see something called agent mode. If you don't see it, that means it has not rolled out to you yet. And of course, it's not available for the free ones yet. It's currently in beta, so formatting and other things are rudimentary. The spreadsheet editing is supported, but slideshow editing is not. And there are a bunch of other things that you should be aware of, like, what is the expectation from this, right? So remember, these are things that are still experimental. So it's still in beta. There are good performance benchmarks though. Humanity's last exam, it achieved the state of the art score of 41.6%, which is very, very high compared to all other models. Frontier Math, 27.4% accuracy, which outperforms other previous models, and bunch of other benchmarks. It does much better compared to other simple models, which doesn't have these kind of agentic capabilities. Let's talk about Mistral releasing Voxtral. So it's first open source AI audio model. It's essentially it does a pretty good job at transcribing. You can find it available as part of the model. It's as part of the LLM models. You can use it. It's open source, so you can also download it and use it that way. It is cheaper to operate compared to other options like 11 Labs Scribe, for example, which is pretty expensive compared to this model, but it has a low error rate, right? So it works pretty well. You can see some of the like benchmarks which they have released as well. So this model is a pretty good, I would say, release. They also added bunch of features in the late chat, like deep research and the voice mode, and like natively multilingual reasoning. They've also done something called projects, where basically you can organize your conversations and make that available in the context rich folders. You also have something called advanced image editing, which is basically creating and editing images with simple prompts, just like what we had native image gen in the OpenAI models, etc. Claude Anthropic, they have actually created a lot of new connectors, etc. So you can turn your Figma designs into production ready code with Claude. So if you have basically they have a new Figma connector which lets you share design links directly with Claude, and it analyzes layout, spacing, colors, all kind of those form factors, element, and then it can generate clean semantic code that matches your design. So from the design that you build in Figma, you connect it, you basically install the Figma connector in Cloud Desktop. You enable the MCP server in Figma's development mode, and then you share your design link with Claude, and then Claude will generate a React component with your exact design system. I think it's pretty good. I really love this seamless design effort, right? You design something, hopefully it will be available for Canva also soon. So Figma or Canva, and then you can design it, and then it can create a React component based on that. I think that's lovely. I would love to use that very soon as well. AWS has introduced Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, right? So essentially, this is a new set of capabilities in the Bedrock. With this, you can take the edge agent that you're developing and take them to the production. Essentially, it's to help scale the agents in the production, right? So they have components like runtime, agent core runtime, which basically provides secure serverless execution for any agent framework or model, right? It has memory, managed policy driven agent memory, short and long term context storage, etc. Identity, you got to use the identity and access management, right, for the agent. This is what the identity does. Gateway is essentially to unified way to expose and call the tools and APIs as the agent functions. And they have a browser tool, they have code interpreter, observability, like whatever is happening with those agent, it will do the logging and tracing and integration with CloudWatch, Datadog, and Langsmith kind of framework. So pretty good, I think. Lots of, I would say, the um, launches this week. And with that, I think we are just about on time. So 30 minutes is what we try to keep. And I think that should be good enough. There were a lot of things to cover this week. Um, we will cover rest of the things next week. We don't cover all the sections every week because we're going to try to limit it within 30 minutes. 30 minutes a week, I think, is worth investing for your career, company, and community. Transform them with AI. Keep listening to AI Files. Bye, everyone.